As a follow-up to this, Trump posted onto Truth Social on Saturday morning that they had done that. He shared, "I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said," this is the important part, guys, so pay attention. He writes, "With that being..."
Candace Owens returns with a bombshell on the Epstein saga, diving deep into Trump's shocking move to unseal grand jury files that experts say will reveal nothing. On Candace's channel, she exposes the game Trump and his allies are playing with MAGA's trust. What is really buried in these Epstein files? Let's break this down.
Said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more, more, more. And then he ends it with MAGA. I kind of like that ending. MAGA. It's great. I'm telling you to look at the language there because what he's doing is he's kind of already tipping his hand, right? He's basically saying, you're not going to be happy with what we're about to give you, but he's trying to sort of prime the base to go, oh, but if any person is not happy, then they're like the raving leftist lunatics. They're troublemakers. Why are you causing so much trouble? Well, I'm going above and beyond now. I don't even care about this. I'm going to release these transcripts, but I'm going to tell you that I'm going to predict that there's going to be people that aren't happy with this. I can explain to you what he's doing there, right? It's pretty obvious, okay? He knows we're not going to get anything. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was working for the CIA and the Mossad. You'd have to be a big dummy, big dummy not to recognize that by now, okay? We now also understand that everything involving Jeffrey Epstein was really a show.
This isn't just PR. Trump's mind games reveal contempt for his own base, pretending to act while knowing the documents are gutted to cover up the truth.
It was like watching a drama play being put on. It wasn't a question ever of whether they were going to tell us who he was involved with. It was really them trying to figure out how to satisfy public interest in the case, right? Their goal was to protect the sinister truth of what he had been up to and who he was up to it for and how he had done it, but also managing to satisfy public interest. This is what show trials are all about, by the way. We just got to satisfy the public interest so we can move on. Now, you will recall that the second time when he was flying back from Paris, landed into Teterboro, he was indicted in the Southern District, New York courts, right? Southern District, New York courts. And we know that it's quite interesting that now Pam Bondi is trying to sell to us that the Southern District of New York is going to be the answer to everything that's gone on, right? Like suddenly the SDNY is going to be open to showing to us what happened in these transcripts. So I'm going to show you these articles, by the way, just to make it so clear that they know that we're going to get nothing in this, because they went and they interviewed some lawyers and who came out and said right away, they said, you're not going to get anything here. This is the Associated Press. Request to unseal Epstein grand jury transcripts likely to disappoint, ex-prosecutors say. Okay.
Trump's own hesitation on Epstein files signals a deeper unease, as if there are names and networks too dangerous to expose. He's soft-pedaling and gaslighting his supporters.
And they know this because, first and foremost, it's the Southern District of New York. That's where Diddy's show trial was being held, right? That's where Trump's show trial with E. Jean Carroll was also held. That's where Justin Baldoni's show trial is being held in the SDNY. There's every bit of evidence that this district is implausibly corrupt. The state knows fully well that whatever testimony was given to indict Jeffrey Epstein, it's going to be intentionally limited. It's going to be bare minimum. Trump is just pretending to unseal this because he wants it to be enough, okay? He wants us to all think that, okay, well, only troublemakers care. And what we actually want, we don't really care about what happened when he landed and a couple of weeks later killed himself. What we want is everything pertaining to the 2006 case. Remember? The one that Alan Dershowitz helped him settle. The case where he then was suddenly running the sheriff's office. The case where the feds agreed that as a part of the plea deal, no other person involved in Jeffrey Epstein's orbit was going to have charges brought against him. Like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein getting a slap on the wrist covers everybody. He's falling for everybody that could have been implicated in this case. Why would the feds have made that a part of the deal? Obviously, they were covering for powerful people that were caught up in Epstein's initial case, okay? So yeah, Trump's team filed that motion to unseal the grand jury transcripts. But like I said, looking at that AP News headline, it's because they already know they're not going to get anything. In that article, they cite two Manhattan federal prosecutors who both say that Trump knows that there's not going to be anything because grand jury testimonies in that district are known to be intentionally brief. They estimate that it'll be max between 60 and 100 pages of testimony. And they cite Sarah Krishoff, who was the assistant U.S. attorney for 13 years. She said, quote, "It's not going to be much because the Southern District of New York's practice is to put as little information as possible into the grand jury." So what are we to conclude about this, guys? Trump is playing games. He is. I'm sorry. He is flat out playing games right now. In fact, he's doing that thing that we always felt the press was doing to Trump supporters, thinking that we're stupid. Going, okay, they don't know much about how the law works. So if I just say I'm going to unseal something, then it looks like I'm acting, and then I'm going to call everybody who doesn't agree with that a troublemaker. He knows exactly what he's doing. So I went back because I'm going, is this new? Is Trump suddenly being brand new about the Epstein topic? And the reality is, when we looked back at clips, he's actually always been a bit wishy-washy on the Epstein points, okay? People are circulating all of these old clips, and I want you guys to check out this one from back when he was running last year. He sat down with Lex Friedman. It was September. And this is what he said when Lex Friedman pressed him on his hesitancy to commit to releasing the files. Take a listen.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I mean, I'm not involved. I never went to his island, fortunately. But a lot of people did.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. They do that for danger, too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
That's great to hear.
You see that I'm just not comfortable. It's not a straight answer. He says other people are going to get caught up in it, and but you think kind of pivots to talking about JFK files, which has always been very clear. I will release the files. And he does it again, by the way. A few months before he sat down with Lex Friedman, he sat with Rachel Compass Duffy of Fox News, and here is what he said to her regarding the Epstein files.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah.
Trump's own hesitation on Epstein files signals a deeper unease, as if there are names and networks too dangerous to expose. He's soft-pedaling and gaslighting his supporters.
I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would.
Kind of a weird answer, right? He's just not strong there. He's like, oh, well, that maybe there's a lot of fake stuff in there. In where? We're being told now that their Epstein files don't exist. So where's the fake stuff at? I've been racking my brain genuinely trying to consider what is the connection here? What is the connection between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump? Because clearly there is something here that gives him pause. And there is a picture for me that is emerging. And look, I will say right now, I'm very open to being wrong. But I think what I'm about to present is somewhat of interest. Like if there's a little bit of a pattern emerging. Okay, so what do we know so far about Jeffrey Epstein? Tomorrow we'll jump back into the Jeffrey Epstein's files, but already, what do we know? Well, we know that his money's very mysterious, and that once he got this money quite mysteriously, his interests were spread amongst businesses that allowed for him to traffic young women. Okay, we covered this already, but Jeffrey Epstein injected a ton of cash into MC2 Modeling. Okay, that was a modeling firm that was owned by Jean-Luc Brunel. French guy. And all of a sudden, after this cash injection from Jeffrey Epstein, MC2 Modeling hits the mainstream in a big way, right? They're signing client deals with Nordstrom, Macy's, Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, JCPenney, Kohl's Corporation, the Target Corporation, Sears, you name it, right? And Virginia Roberts Giuffre, right, the Epstein accuser that spoke out, would later allege in her 2014 testimony that MC2 was actually a front for sex trafficking. So he was injecting cash because he was allowed to move minors.
This segment exposes the truth behind the staged transparency on Jeffrey Epstein's grand jury files. Trump and his neocon allies are pretending to release the documents, but insiders warn we're getting a heavily redacted charade crafted to protect the powerful. Meanwhile, the tangled web of Epstein's dark empire spreads globally with fronts like MC2 Modeling and shadowy Ukrainian connections. MAGA supporters must see through the deception. Truth matters, don't fall for the smoke and mirrors. Drop your take below. What do you think Trump's really hiding?